My parents got arrested 3 months ago for breaking into a house with baseball bats and destroying everything inside. The living room, the furniture, the windows, they smashed it all. Here's the thing though, they thought it was my house. They thought they were getting revenge on me for being a terrible daughter. Turns out, I'd sold that house a month earlier, and they just terrorized some random guy who had nothing to do with our family drama. And honestly, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm Reese, and this is the story of how my family tried to destroy my life over money, and how their own actions ended up destroying theirs instead. Let me take you back 5 years, because that's when this whole mess really started. I was 28 years old, living in a studio apartment that was basically a closet with a bathroom. Every morning for 4 years, I woke up in that cramped space and reminded myself why I was doing this. Why I was eating canned beans for dinner 3 nights a week. Why I took the bus everywhere while my coworkers drove nice cars. Why my birthday celebrations involved gas station cupcakes instead of going out with friends. $120,000. That's what I was saving for. That's what freedom looked like to me. Enough money to buy a house. A real house, with actual rooms and a yard and a kitchen where I could cook something other than instant noodles. I'd found the perfect place too. This beautiful 3-bedroom craftsman with hardwood floors and a kitchen that caught the morning light in this incredible way. I'd drive by it sometimes on weekends, just imagining what it would be like to live there. To have space. To have something that was actually mine. Every dollar I saved represented a choice. Late nights debugging code until my eyes burned. Weekend freelance projects while my friends were out having fun. But it was worth it, because I was building towards something real. Back then, I still had a family. Or at least, I thought I did. Every Saturday, I'd go to my parents' house for dinner. It was our tradition. Mom would make her famous meatloaf. Dad would complain about his back while secretly enjoying having both his daughters around, and my older sister Lauren would show up with her husband Brandon. Lauren was 3 years older than me and had always been the family favorite. She was the creative one, the entrepreneur, the risk-taker. I was just the boring one with the stable tech job. That particular Saturday in October felt different the moment I walked in. There was this weird energy in the air. Lauren and Brandon were whispering in the corner. Mom kept giving me these strange looks, half excited, half calculating. Dad couldn't meet my eyes during his usual complaints about the neighbor's dog. I was too caught up in my own excitement to notice the warning signs. I had pictures of my dream house on my phone, ready to share my good news with my family. Lauren has some wonderful news, Mom announced as we sat down at the dining table. What happened next still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. Lauren didn't just tell us about a new business idea. She gave us a full presentation. Like, printed charts and graphs and projected revenue streams. Market analysis. The whole thing. This was her 3rd business venture. The first 2 had failed spectacularly, so badly that my parents had to remortgage their house to pay off her debts. But apparently, she'd learned nothing from those disasters. I've learned from my mistakes, she said, her eyes bright with this dangerous mix of desperation and delusion I'd seen before. This time is different. I have everything figured out. I just need capital for initial development and marketing. Brandon nodded beside her like a bobblehead. The projections show we could double our investment within 2 years. That's when they all turned to look at me. Not casual glances, deliberate, expectant stares that made something cold settle in my chest. Why are you all looking at me like that? Lauren's voice went sweet and manipulative, the tone she'd been perfecting since we were kids. Well, I know you're saving for a house, and Mom mentioned you have about $120,000 saved up. The room went silent except for my heartbeat pounding in my ears. They had discussed my finances behind my back. They had calculated exactly how much I was worth to them. I wasn't their daughter or their sister. I was a walking ATM with a convenient family connection. I'm not investing my house money in your business, Lauren. The words came out sharper than I meant them to, but honestly, I was shocked. This wasn't a small favor. This was my entire future. They were asking me to gamble on Lauren's track record of spectacular failures. Lauren's face crumpled like I'd slapped her. But if you help me now, in 2 years I'll give you back $240,000. You could buy an even better house then. I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. The woman who'd failed at business twice was asking me to trust her with my life savings based on nothing but optimism and fantasy projections. Lauren, you've already failed at business twice. Maybe it's time to get a regular job like the rest of us. That's when everything exploded. Lauren burst into tears and ran from the room like we were teenagers again. Brandon called me heartless and followed her. And my parents, the people who had raised me, who I thought loved me, immediately turned on me. How could you be so cruel to your sister? Mom's voice was ice cold. Lauren is more talented than you'll ever be. You're just jealous of her success. Success. I wanted to scream. What success? The 2 bankruptcies. The creditors calling your house at all hours. The stress that gave Dad panic attacks and sent him to the emergency room. But Dad delivered the killing blow. You give Lauren that money, or you're no longer part of this family. I stared at these people, these strangers wearing my parents' faces, and realized something. To them, I had never been a daughter. I was a resource to be tapped when needed. I'm not giving her my money, I said quietly. Then get out of our house and don't come back. So I did. I walked out, drove home to my tiny apartment, and changed my phone number the next day. If they wanted to cut me out of the family over money, I'd make it official. 1 year later, I bought that house. The same beautiful craftsman with the hardwood floors and the morning sunlight. I set up my home office in the spare bedroom and discovered what actual peace felt like. No more Saturday dinners walking on eggshells. No more listening to Lauren's delusional business plans. No more being treated like a human ATM by people who were supposed to love me. Through mutual friends, I heard that Lauren's business was actually successful this time. She bought a big house, was traveling constantly, posting pictures of her lavish lifestyle all over social media. I was genuinely happy for her. But I felt zero regret about protecting my future. For 5 years, I lived without them. 5 peaceful, drama-free years where I advanced in my career, learned to enjoy my own company, and built a life that felt authentically mine. I even met someone. Connor, this incredible man I connected with through a professional networking group. He lived in another state, but we made it work because he was everything my family had never been: kind, stable, supportive. Someone who valued me for who I was, not what I could provide. We started talking seriously about a future together. I was considering selling my house to move to his state and start fresh. Then I got an email that changed everything. It came to my old email address, the one I barely checked anymore. The sender's name made my stomach drop. Mom. Reese, we need to see you urgently. This is a matter of life and death. Please come home. Despite everything, these people had raised me. If someone was dying, if Dad was having a heart attack or Mom had cancer, I needed to know. So I wrote back, I'll come by this Saturday. Saturday morning, I sat in my car outside their house for 10 minutes, trying to gather courage. The neighborhood looked smaller than I remembered, shabbier. But what really caught my attention were the 2 cars in the driveway, Lauren's brand new Porsche and Brandon's pristine Mercedes. So this wasn't about someone dying. This was a family intervention. Mom opened the door looking older, more tired. Reese, she said, her voice shaky. Thank you for coming. The whole family was in the living room. Dad in his usual chair looking grim. Lauren on the couch next to Brandon, her eyes red from crying. What's going on? I stayed standing. Your email said this was life and death. Mom started tearing up immediately. It's about Lauren. She's in serious trouble. I looked at my sister, who couldn't meet my eyes. What kind of trouble? Dad cleared his throat. Her business went under 3 months ago. The bank took her house. She owes money to some very dangerous people. I felt this weird mix of vindication and genuine sadness. Vindication because I'd been right all along. Sadness because losing your home genuinely sucks, even when it's your own fault. I'm sorry to hear that, I said carefully. But what does this have to do with me? Lauren finally spoke, barely a whisper. $150,000. Who do you owe $150,000 to? Brandon answered, private investors. They're not the kind of people who accept "I'll pay you later" as an answer. Lauren started crying again. They've been calling, making threats. They know where we're staying. They know our routines. We're scared, Reese. Really scared. I felt bad for them, I really did. But I still didn't understand why I was there. That's terrible, but I still don't see what you want from me. Mom dropped the bomb. We know you bought a house. A nice one. We think you should sell it and help Lauren pay off these debts. I stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Are you out of your mind? You're young, Mom continued, like I hadn't spoken. You can earn another house. Lauren and Brandon could be seriously hurt if they don't pay this money back. I looked around the room at all of them, these people who had abandoned me for 5 years, who had told me I wasn't family, who had never once called to check if I was alive or dead. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You kicked me out 5 years ago because I wouldn't give Lauren money for her business. Now that business has failed, she's in debt to dangerous people, and you want me to sell my house to bail her out? Family helps family, Dad said with a straight face. Family. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You told me I wasn't family anymore. Remember? Lauren was sobbing harder now. I know we messed up before, but this is different. These people aren't going to just take us to court. They're going to hurt us. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you borrowed money from loan sharks. Brandon got angry. You have no idea what kind of pressure we're under. You're right, I don't. But I noticed 2 very expensive cars in the driveway. Maybe start by selling those. We need those cars for work, Lauren snapped. You need them more than you need to be safe from dangerous creditors? The circular logic was making my head spin. They wanted me to destroy my financial security to fix problems they created, while refusing to make any sacrifices themselves. Mom got right in my face. This house you bought, if you sold it, you could pay off Lauren's debts and still have money left over for a nice apartment. A nice apartment? Mom, I worked my ass off for that house. I saved every penny for years. I'm not selling it to fix Lauren's mess. She's your sister, Dad said. She's also a grown woman who made her own choices. Bad choices. Lauren jumped up. You're supposed to help me. You're supposed to care about what happens to me. Where was this family loyalty 5 years ago when you all told me to get lost? That was different, Mom said. How was it different? The room went quiet. Everyone stared at me like I was the unreasonable one. I'm not doing this, I said finally. Lauren got herself into this mess, and she can get herself out. If you want to help her so badly, sell your house and give her the money. Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. This is the only house we have. We're old, Reese. We can't just start over like you can. Then I guess you understand exactly how I feel about my house. I started walking toward the door. Lauren called after me, you're making a huge mistake. These people don't mess around. I turned back. Neither do I. I left them sitting there and drove home feeling lighter than I had in years. As soon as I got back, I blocked Mom's email address. I was done forever. For about a week, things were peaceful. Connor called every day, supportive as always. You did the right thing, he kept saying. I was feeling pretty good about my decision. Sure, I felt bad that Lauren was in trouble, but that wasn't my fault or my responsibility. Then Tuesday morning happened. I was in my kitchen making coffee when I heard a car door slam outside. I looked out the window and nearly dropped my mug. Mom and Dad were walking up my driveway like they owned the place. What are you doing here? I asked when I opened the door. How did you even get my address? Mom looked proud of herself. Lauren hired a private investigator. A private investigator? Are you serious? Dad was looking around at my house with calculating eyes. I could practically see dollar signs spinning in his head. This is a nice place, he said. Get off my property. But Mom pushed past me and walked right into my house. Dad followed her. I was so shocked that I just stood there. Don't make yourselves comfortable, I said. You're not staying. Mom walked around my living room, touching things, examining everything like she was conducting a real estate appraisal. If you sold this house, you could easily pay off Lauren's debt and still have plenty left over for a smaller place. I already told you I'm not selling my house. But look at all this space, Dad said, spreading his arms. It's just you living here. You don't need all this room. What I need is none of your business. Mom turned to me with tears in her eyes again. Lauren is really scared, Reese. These men called yesterday. They said if they don't get their money by the end of the month, something bad is going to happen. Then maybe Lauren should go to the police. The police can't help with this, Dad said. I was getting more frustrated by the second. That's still not my problem. You both need to leave now. We're not leaving until you agree to help your sister, Mom said, crossing her arms like a stubborn child. Then I'm calling the police. I pulled out my phone and started dialing. Dad grabbed my arm. Don't be ridiculous. Let go of me. I shook him off. I'm calling them right now if you don't get out. They could tell I was serious. Mom started crying harder. Fine, but this isn't over, Reese. If something happens to Lauren, it's on your head. And if something happens to my financial security because I bail out her bad decisions, that would be on my head too. At least this way, only the person who made the mess deals with the consequences. Dad pointed his finger at me. You're going to regret this. You didn't think that 5 years ago. After they finally left, I called the realtor I'd been talking to about maybe selling my house to move in with Connor. Hey, it's Reese. Remember we talked about putting my house on the market? I need to sell it as fast as possible. I'm willing to take a 5% discount if that helps. That's interesting timing. I actually have a buyer who's been looking in your area. With that discount, I think he'd be very interested. 3 days later, he called back with an offer. It was lower than I'd hoped, but fair. I accepted immediately. Connor was confused when I told him. Why the rush? I explained about my parents showing up uninvited, their threats, their refusal to leave. I don't trust them, Connor. I think they're going to keep harassing me, maybe even do something crazy. I'd rather sell the house and get the money somewhere safe where they can't use it as leverage. That's probably smart. And hey, this means you can come stay with me sooner than we planned. That made me smile. Are you okay with me staying at your place while I look for a new house in your area? Are you kidding? I've been hoping you'd move here. The closing happened fast. Within a week, the house was officially sold. Connor drove out to help me pack and move everything to his place. As we loaded the last boxes into the moving truck, I looked back at the house one more time. I'd been genuinely happy there. I'd worked incredibly hard to afford it, but I felt good about selling. I was starting a new chapter with Connor, and my family couldn't use my house as emotional blackmail anymore. You okay? Connor asked, putting his arm around me. Yeah, I'm good. Let's get out of here. We drove off together, and I felt this huge weight lift off my shoulders. Whatever happened with Lauren and her debt problems, it wasn't going to involve me or my money. I was finally free of their drama for good. Living with Connor turned out to be incredible. His place was comfortable and welcoming, and working remotely meant I could settle into a routine pretty quickly. We spent our evenings looking at houses online, planning our future together. For the first time in months, I felt genuinely happy and stress-free. I'd been living with Connor for about a month when my phone rang one Tuesday morning. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize with my old hometown area code. Is this Reese Carter? Yes. Who's calling? This is Officer Brennan with the Lincoln Police Department. I'm calling about an incident involving your parents, Frank and Diane Carter. My blood went cold. What kind of incident? They were arrested last night for breaking and entering and destruction of property. The homeowner wants to press charges. I was completely confused. Breaking and entering where? The address they broke into is listed as your former residence. Is 851 Pine Street a house you used to own? I sold that house a month ago. What were my parents doing there? That's what we're trying to figure out. They caused significant damage to the interior. Destroyed furniture, broke windows, spray-painted obscenities on the walls. The new owner came home to find them in his living room, smashing his coffee table with a baseball bat. I sat down hard on Connor's couch, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Are you serious? Very serious. The damage is estimated at around $40,000. Your parents claimed they thought it was still your house and that you'd wronged them. They said they were getting back at you for abandoning your family. I told Officer Brennan everything, about Lauren's debts, about them showing up at my house uninvited, about the whole 5-year family drama. He listened and took detailed notes. So they didn't know you'd sold the house? Obviously not. They probably went there to vandalize my property as revenge for not giving Lauren money. Instead, they destroyed some innocent person's home. That's exactly what it looks like. After I hung up, I told Connor what had happened. He was as shocked as I was. That's insane, Reese. They could have been shot. What if the homeowner had been armed and thought they were dangerous intruders? I hadn't even thought of that. My parents could have been killed over this stupid vendetta. Over the next few weeks, I got regular updates from the police and mutual friends about what was happening. Mom and Dad were facing serious criminal charges, but their lawyer worked out a plea deal. They admitted guilt in exchange for avoiding jail time, but they had to pay full restitution to the homeowner. $40,000 for property damage, plus legal fees, plus court costs. Close to $60,000 total. My friend Emily called me with the complete story a few weeks later. Reese, your parents had to sell their house. They couldn't afford the restitution any other way. The irony was absolutely staggering. They had sold the house they claimed was their only asset, the one they said they were too old to replace. And here's the kicker, Emily continued. After paying everything they owed, they gave the remaining money to Lauren for her debt problems. So they ended up doing exactly what they demanded I do, but with their own house instead of mine. That's not even the best part, Emily said. Lauren's creditor problems. Turns out they weren't as scary as she made them sound. The dangerous people were just a legitimate investment firm threatening to sue her. No broken kneecaps, no mysterious accidents, just regular legal action. So Lauren had lied about being in physical danger. She'd manipulated everyone into thinking her life was at risk when really she was just facing a normal lawsuit. Where are Mom and Dad living now? They're renting a small apartment with Lauren and Brandon. All four of them crammed into a 2-bedroom place. From what I hear, it's not going well. Lots of fighting, lots of tension. A few months passed, and I heard through the grapevine that my family was trying to contact me through mutual friends. They wanted to apologize, to explain themselves, to somehow rebuild our relationship. Every time someone brought it up, I said no. Emily called me one more time about it. Your mom asked me to tell you she's sorry. She said they realized they handled everything wrong, that they made terrible mistakes. It's too late for sorry, I told her. They spent 5 years not caring whether I was alive or dead. Then they demanded I bankrupt myself for Lauren's mistakes. Then they committed actual crimes because I wouldn't do what they wanted. I'm done. But they're family, Reese. No, they're not. Family doesn't abandon you for 5 years and then show up demanding money. Family doesn't hire private investigators to stalk you. Family doesn't break into houses with baseball bats because they don't get their way. Connor had been listening to my side of the conversation. When I hung up, he took my hand and squeezed it gently. You okay? I'm perfect, actually. And I was. We'd found a house we both loved and were preparing to make an offer. I was doing incredibly well at work, had even gotten a promotion. Most importantly, I didn't have to deal with their endless drama anymore. He smiled at me with that look that still made my heart skip. Speaking of the house we love, I was thinking about making an offer that's bigger than just on the house. He got down on one knee right there in his living room and pulled out a ring box. Reese, will you marry me? We can buy that house together and start our real life, the one we've been dreaming about. I started crying happy tears for the first time in forever. Yes, absolutely yes. We got engaged that day and put an offer on the house that weekend. Our offer was accepted immediately, and we're planning to get married next year in the backyard of our new home. Sometimes I think about my family and wonder if I made the right choice cutting them off completely. Those moments of doubt usually last about 30 seconds, and then I remember how peaceful my life has been without their constant manipulation. Lauren created her own problems through terrible business decisions and an inability to learn from her mistakes. Mom and Dad chose to enable her destructive behavior instead of letting her face natural consequences. They all chose to harass and threaten me instead of dealing with their own issues like adults. And when I refused to be manipulated, they chose to commit actual crimes. I chose to build a life with someone who loves and supports me unconditionally. I chose to protect my financial security and my mental health. I chose to surround myself with people who don't try to manipulate me or treat me like a walking ATM. I think I chose much, much better. Connor and I are deep into planning our wedding, talking about maybe having kids someday, dreaming about the garden we want to plant next spring. My career is thriving in ways I never imagined, and I wake up every single day feeling genuinely happy and at peace. And none of that would have been possible if I'd let my family drag me back into their mess, if I'd sacrificed my future for their dysfunction. So no, I don't regret cutting them off. Not for a single second. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are actually the ones who place the most impossible conditions on that love. And sometimes walking away from toxic family members is the most loving thing you can do, for yourself and for your future. The hardest boundaries we set are often the ones that finally set us free. And freedom, I've learned, is worth every sacrifice it takes to achieve it. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself when nobody else will. Sometimes the family you create is better than the one you were born into.